Well, right now it's time for reading from the Bible, and this is taken from the Gospel of John, chapter 10, verses 22 through to 30 from the New International Version of the Bible. It says, "Then came the Feast of Dedication at Jerusalem. It was winter, and Jesus was in the temple area walking in Solomon's colonnade. The Jews gathered around him, saying, 'How long will you keep us in suspense? If you are the Christ, tell us plainly.' Jesus answered, 'I did tell you, but you did not believe. The miracles I do in my Father's name speak for me. But you do not believe because you are not my sheep. My sheep listen to my voice. I know them, and they follow me. I give them eternal life, and they shall never perish. No one can snatch them out of my hand. My Father who has given them to me is greater than all, and no one can snatch them out of my Father's hand. I and the Father are one." Well, this Thursday night is the Feast of Hanukkah. It goes for 8 days, and it starts here. It talks about the Feast of Dedication. Well, the Feast of Dedication and the Feast of Hanukkah are one and the same. So what is it really all about? Well, Jesus was talking there about the sheepfold, and before that he'd been talking about that he is the door, that everybody else has come before him were robbers and thieves. But he is the door, he is the gate, he is the way to the Father. And also he said he is the good shepherd of the sheepfold. So what is Hanukkah about, and how does it relate to this, and why do we call it the Feast of Light? Well, it happened before Jesus was even born, quite a while before then. The Greek army, or the Greek Empire, had control over Israel, and they basically did away with all their feasts. They did away with the temple. In fact, they desecrated it. They put a false god, an idol of Zeus, in the temple. They desecrated the temple, and they forbid the Jewish people from practicing their faith. So Judas Maccabeus rose up with his sons, and they produced a small army, and they revolted. Now, there's a lot of different wars that went on, but eventually the final outcome was that they won the battle. Now, Maccabeus means the hammer, so he was called the hammer. He did die in battle, but they did remain victorious in the end. And what Hanukkah is really all about, or the Feast of Dedication, is taking away that temple that was desecrated and rededicating it again. So they had to clean it out, they had to make it ceremonial clean, but also all the oil the pots had been smashed. That was for the menorah. Now, the menorah is a 7-branch candle holder that is in the temple, and it represents Jesus. It has a number of things about it that represent him. For one, it gives light, and it also has the 7 candles, which represents the 7 spirits of God. Also on it, it has the almond blossom, and in that time of the year, or in the time of the temple, like as in the month of Nisan, we're talking about the start of their year, and also we're talking about Passover. That was the first fruit. The first flowers and the first fruits that came out were the almonds. So it represents Jesus as the first fruit. Now, it's interesting because they had desecrated this temple and destroyed the oil, so they had to rededicate it. And there's a miracle about Hanukkah, and that is that apparently they had no oil. They had to reproduce it. It took 7 days at least to be ceremonially clean, but apparently they only had enough oil for 1 day, as the story goes. But a miracle happened, and that was they had enough oil for all 8 days until they were able to produce more of the precious olive oil that they needed for the menorah. And so it is with Jesus. He is the light of the world. He has come in as the light of the world. He is the menorah. It is interesting that in the book of Revelation, when he comes back and reigns in his millennial reign for 1,000 years, that there is no menorah in the temple. It says that Jesus is the light, and that's because there's no need for a menorah then. It's because the whole fulfillment of it has come through Jesus. So this year when we celebrate Hanukkah, we remember Jesus. And I've got here a Hanukkah. It's got 9 candles in it, and the middle candle here is called the servant candle, and they always take this out and they light the other candles with it. They do one every night. Now, Jesus came as a servant. He came as the suffering servant, and you cannot light the other candles without his light. So it is with us. Jesus' light has been lit in our heart. He is like that candle, and it's only through him that we can shine the light of the world, because he is the source of light, and that's what we celebrate at Hanukkah. So it's a special time of the year, a beautiful time of the year, and it's a feast that really does have much to say about Jesus. So I hope that it blessed you in some way. Time to get back into